Hi, my name is Moksh Chitkara, and welcome to Next Week Now, the only show that's just a sub looking for a dom. I'm not new to the show. This is just the first time the producers let me out of my cage, and I've been doing just fine. That's right. No killer's jokes. I got it. That hurt, but not as much as the Aster 3000, trust me. All right, speaking of toasty anuses, let's dive into Next Week Now's news now. It was recently reported that about half of Russia's population in London are spies for the Kremlin, the secret government of Russia that lives in the Castel. At least that's the explanation I got when I Googled it. While this is already protruding its own right, the worst isn't over yet. Apparently, the Christmas season is coming just a little too early because the other half of London Russians are also spies, but not for the Kremlin. Instead, they report to the gremlins. That's right, one of those greedy sons of bitches are back, and they're not jolly. I mean, pissed. They're pissed. The Russians have been feeding mogwais after midnight and dousing them in water since 2007, when evolution went off the deep end. After the pug had sex with the chip, when a Furby spat in its mouth, when Russia found out that mogwais, they were so excited to have pets that were just as hungry for hard liquor as they were. But they totally forgot that a 3 a.m. drunk order of Taco Bell was going to cost them much more than a flaming bunghole in the morning. The mogwais turned into gremlins and took over rather quickly. It will be reported that the Russians are like dogs that are incredibly obedient to whoever can feed them. Enough Putin snacks, and the mogwais have found the supply factory. They put it in Lithuania, thinking no one actually goes there, but this time, they were wrong. In fact, this whole thing actually goes much deeper. Putin himself will be discovered dead, but still living. Not as some walking bullcuck, but rather as he's been dead since 2009, and his body simply has been the host of rotten Furbies controlling the Russian government. Gremlins really first got interested in politics when a bad Tinder date left them really sad, and in order to fill this void of being really lonely, they decided to rule the earth, or at least Russia, to force people to be their friends. What this ultimately means is that while there are two halves of the Russian population in London, one reporting to Kremlins and the other to gremlins, they're really all going back to the same place. As my math teacher told me once, when I asked about how my meeting with my mom went, two halves make a whole, in your mom. I had sex with your mom. Well, that's only happening in Britain, so who really cares? Not America, not my problem. Am I right? Shut up! All right, no stand up, I got it. So, let's move on. Fight of the century coming up next week. While Steve Harvey likes to put on Family Feuds on America's home television, everyone knows that the most authentic family fights happen every Thanksgiving. I'm still in pain from last year. But actually, you may have seen the viral video of some random man bursting through the ceiling of a Waffle House and then immediately proceeding to whoop ass on anyone and everyone around him. And if you haven't, what are you doing? If you think Next Week Now is quality entertainment, then your standards are low enough to enjoy that. Anyways, turns out this guy was prepping for his own Thanksgiving this year. And his whole waffle wombo combo fighting moves has gotten his Waffle House some extremely good press. Everyone is going to their local Waffle Houses fully geared up and ready to fight. Ready to fight through the ceiling. It's like real-life Super Smash Bros. Seriously. But earlier this week, Shigeru Miyamoto announced that Mr. Waffle, yes, Mr. Blue Waffle, would be the newest playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But, not to be outdone, our fearless queen has decided that she is also going to enter the ring. That's right, I'm talking about Wendy's. Master of throwing shade, now too will be throwing hands. Clearly, her immunity is to be never frozen and always be fresh. And her Super Smash includes grabbing foes with her pigtails and helicoptering them around. Pretty badass, TBH. However, she isn't the only white person in makeup and bright red hair to be added to the arsenal. Oh yeah, you already know my main man, Ronald McD, is mix smashing his way into the game. That McRib is back, and this time it's a blunt instrument used to knock out the unconscious. That is, Unless you're playing as the Jolly Green Giant. His surprisingly sexy build and stature has his strength as one of his most OP things in the game. Apparently, Nintendo added him in order to have some subtle health innuendos, since the game has allegedly over 300 hours of gameplay possible. Which is like, okay, I guess, but then explain to me why the Pillsbury Doughboy is also a character. Also, why are all the characters white? Even the Jolly Green Giant is clearly white. Bring that graphic back. I realize you're green, but no real person of color has hair like that. If you're gonna shoehorn mascots, at least give me some diversity. And you remember Nesquik? He was like this chocolate bunny that made your milk unhealthy. Or what about Frito Bandito? He was a Mexican criminal that just wanted a curly chip. That one might be diverse to a point of racism. I got it. Mr. Peanut. I realize it's No Nut November, but the game comes out in December, which means I can guilt-free nut all over the screen.
No fun! I want to hear you say it.
I'm finished.
Good.
I'm finished.
No.
When we come back, boys and girls duke it out on camera for our pleasure. And your furniture isn't as safe as you want it to be. Now here's the Next Week Now team on reporting Thanksgiving traditions.